before we get into all the stuff that we have to cover with you, we ask you, is there anything specifically that's on your mind? Anything you'd like to accomplish?
Uh, I guess I'd be looking forward on uh, the business part on, I'd say advertising or, in that line,
Gotcha. So,
getting on or focusing on clientele on that. But
getting clients from that?
yes.
Okay, gotcha. And what about the employees? You want some help on that too?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So what we try to do is squeeze as much as we possibly can into as short a period of time as needed. And so, um,
Yeah.
and so let's go ahead and start off with the advertising today, and then we'll get
Right.
to some of the employee stuff. We're working on I don't know if you got my email from yesterday afternoon, evening, um, but we're working on something we'll email over to you, and then you can print out to and have all your employees fill out.
Okay.
And we'll be getting their personality. So just like what we did with you, which of the four shapes, and then which would you like, which of the four things cause you most frustration. But we'll be asking, some different questions too. Like, we might ask them 1 to 10, how much do you like what you're doing? And we might ask them. So
Yeah.
we'll go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm just verifying. Yep. Good.
So we get 1 to 10, how much do you like what you're doing? And then, what do you like most about what you're doing? And then what would be some suggestions on what could be done to improve? So what we're doing is we're working to help them change their minds in how they think, to move them closer to how you think. To do that, you need to learn how to think differently than you're thinking.
All right on.
Yeah,
Okay.
so as business owners, we are very clear on how those employees, team members are not thinking in the right way. So we're very clear, just like with our kids. We see in our kids, yep, they're not thinking well. Maybe not realizing God's saying the same thing about us. Mark, you're not thinking so well. Okay, God, where? Like what? So things are obvious. The splinter in our own eye, is not as obvious. The mote is some in somebody else's eye. And so as you start learning and growing and changing the way you think, it will activate your employees to start to think differently about how they're thinking. And so, Einstein said you can never solve a problem on the level it was created. Same thing is true with us. So what does that mean? It means we create our own problems based on how we think. To solve problems, we need to think differently. Same thing is true with our employees. So they'll tend to go ahead and blame the owner for everything. And so we got to get that changed and saying, what are the problems you're facing? In the business, like in your career, in your job, what you're doing, what are the problems, and then teaching them, just like we do our own kids, how to be problem solvers. How do they solve problems rather than always coming back, to you to solve the problem? How do we get them to do it? Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
So we're working on that. So we'll have something probably by the end of the week that we'll get out to you, and you can, if you're able to print it out, kind of review over at the weekend. You don't need to put a lot of time into it, but we can change the questions. We can tweak them, modify them, do whatever it is, and that will help us to get a read. Once we understand what the personalities of your employees are, then we can come back and we can coach you on how they're wired very differently than you are.
Yep.
So, when I first got into management when I was 23 years old, 23, 24, I applied the golden rule, and that is treat other people the way I want to be treated.
Yeah.
This did not work well.
Huh.
Like with me, if somebody thinks I'm an idiot, I want them just be straight up, be honest with me, tell me I'm an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, just be honest with me. So I thought because I like people telling me things that were honest, even if they hurt, I thought other people would appreciate me if I told them they were idiots.
Huh.
This does
Yeah.
not work. So there's something that's called the platinum rule, and it's treating other the people the way they want to be treated. So it's understanding in the Bible, it says train up a child in the way, which is translated by understanding in the Greek, the original language, train up your children in their personality. And so, you know, it's the same thing with team members. Now the challenge is when you treat them the way they want to be treated, it doesn't work either. Like it's like
Yeah.
they enjoy it. They're feeling great about, but you're the one that's paying the price and having to do the work and do this other stuff. So, but it's understanding that personality, how they're bent and how they're wired. Once you do that, you will then become a more effective leader. Make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So that, we'll work on that in future weeks too.
Yeah.
Advertising, do you know how much of your business comes from advertising now?
Uh, Not a whole lot because I don't do a whole lot of advertising.
Okay. Have you done advertising in the past?
Just a little. I mean, yes, we basically local paper is all that we do advertising in.
Okay. And has it worked?
It's, I mean, some of it yes, and then others of it no.
Okay. The tricky part about advertising, especially locally, is that it can be more like farming rather than fishing.
Okay.
And so, there's a big difference in how people think, farmers think versus fishermen think. So you'll never meet a fisherman that's going out fishing and saying, "Yeah, I'm not going to catch anything today, but I'm fishing today in the hopes of catching something in the future." Fishing is all immediate. It's all in the moment. I'm going to catch something today.
Okay.
That's kind of like selling. Like you want to sell, like I'm going to close this sale today. That's good. It's a good mindset. Farming, you'll never find a
Uh,
farmer that plants a seed and says, I expect to harvest today.
yeah. Okay.
So fishing and farming are very different. In business, you actually want to do both. There's things that when you have a mindset like a fisherman, I'm going to go out and I'm going to close sales today. That's good.
Yeah.
But advertising can be, especially locally, it can be more like farming, which is hard. So you put money and time into advertising and you don't go ahead and you don't see the immediate results. And so you think your advertising is not working. The challenge is it might not be working. The reason it seems like it's not
Yeah.
working is because it's not.
Yeah.
So that's where
Oh,
it's where it's a little dicey. Can you email me over, what you've done in advertising?
you're saying as far as just what it looks like or where I have advertised or
Everything you can have, what it looked like, if you go ahead and um, where have you advertised?
uh local paper. Basically, I don't know if you're familiar with People's Exchange paper and then
Are you
Elkhart
kidding?
Living.
That People's Exchange is, I've never, ever experienced anything like it in my life. That thing is crazy, crazy cool. Like I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And the thing that's wild about it is you don't even have to put a display ad in. All you do is put an ad in, all you do is put an ad in the classifieds. Like I'm like, do I'm like a celebrity based on the ad that I have on going on an adventure. Like, oh, you're the Mark Boersma. I'm like, whoa, like everybody knows me. I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the other one?
Elkhart Living, which is just a local paper or a monthly paper that gets mailed out to some of the Elkhart folks and in the subdivision areas, basically.
Gotcha. So I
But
don't
what I'm
know,
finding out is those people don't read a whole lot.
right? The Amish, man, they read. Like, and the
Yeah.
publications, wow,
Yeah.
do they do they consume them? But yeah, the English, not as much, not as much.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if you can email me everything you've done, or if you can send it to me. If I can see visually the ads you put in, where you have the magazines, if I can see what you've done in the past, we can definitely give you input on that. May not be the most effective use of your money. Um,
Okay.
the advertising, um, there's a lot of ways to generate leads.
Okay.
Um, and so we'll get you over what we call box one of the Action Vision coaching. And it's how to identify targets and lead generation. And there's a whole bunch. So there's kind of a worksheet. You can print it out and you can start to go through and read it, and then we can review it. I might have one of your other team members in the coaching connect with you about that too, if you have any questions. And so what we want to do is again, our goal is for you, in 90 days to come back and say, Action Vision was the best investment I've ever made into my business and myself. That's our goal. To do that, we obviously have to work hard, and we're willing to do that. So the thing that's tricky about Action Vision, it's customized specifically, uniquely for you, not only the plan, which we're working on, but also the each coaching session. So we can do more than once a week for half an hour. The challenge is that going to be overwhelming? Is it too much? So you can actually do too much coaching where all of a sudden it becomes overwhelming for the person and they kind of shut down. They're like, oh, there's too much there. And we don't want to get to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
In an
I
ideal
hear you.
world, what we're doing is, we're, just a hand log or something, a journal sheet or something. In an ideal world, we're tracking, where you're advertising, what the ad is, and then
Okay.
how much you're spending on the ad, um, and then
Okay.
and then we're tracking what leads come in as a result of it. Advertising it can not only bring in new ads, it can support your current customer base too.
Okay.
I'll say that because advertising, I mean, there's good and there's stuff that'll give you a great return, doesn't cost much. And then there's other stuff you can spend a lot of money on and it won't give you anything. So we tend in the coaching, we definitely have the skill set and the experience to help you out get an advertising system in place if that's what you want to do. We tend to like to go ahead and focus real heavy on viral advertising or marketing, which is referrals from your current clients, your current
Mhm.
customer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's one of the, if you remember back into the, when we did the business x-ray, if you remember back into that, we talked about the DNA for life. So the three DNAs in your boss, DNA for person, people, business, and life. So the DNA for life is the natural laws. And so one of those 500 natural laws is what's called the cluster principle. So the cluster principle states that people are making buying or selling decisions. On average, we'll know between 3 and 9 other people making those same type of buying or selling decisions. So people
Okay.
who you're serving now, they know a lot of people who they could refer to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 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 sure.
And so uh have you ever been in a situation where you've kind of been overwhelmed with too much information?
Uh, yeah, probably.
Okay.
I mean, not that I can, I can recall, just when and where, but I'm sure I have. Other than
Okay.
at school, high school.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And so what I because I'm like a 3-year-old kid, like I got so much stuff that I want to share with you. Um, because I want you to get just massive amount of value, like so much value. It's crazy. So my tendency with clients, and this is why, having, Marla or Elaine or Ginger Ann, I tend to go ahead and say, oh, it'll be fine. Just give them this and this and this and this. They'll be fine. They're like, Mark, that's a lot of information. I'm like, oh, they'll be fine. Sometimes not. And so if you're overwhelmed, you just go ahead and say, hey, I'm overwhelmed a little bit. There's good overwhelm and bad overwhelm. And so
Okay.
we'll get you out two. We'll get you out two box coaching. Normally we only do one, but I like you and I don't I want to give you a lot of that. So I'm going to give you box
uh,
one of the 530 grid, which will help you in the advertising. And then I'm going to give you a box 7, which is asking for referrals.
okay.
So that will also generate leads. And obviously, if you're asking for referrals, it's better quality leads than if you get advertising.
Okay.
And it doesn't cost anything, you know. And
Yeah.
so getting systems in place where, we like to get our clients where if they want to do advertising, it's fine. You can do advertising, if that's good, works for you. But we like to get our clients to where they're generating enough leads through referrals, their current customer base, and then referrals from that to where that's feeding their business and keeping their business healthy.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So those will get over to you. You can print that out and kind of start going through it. Anything else, Willis, that you have today that you'd like us to cover?
No, no, I don't think so. Other than okay, so on the sheets that you're talking about emailing over for the employees, uh, do I just start with the couple guys that are taking care, or as far as just being the foreman or being the leaders of my crews, or what?
So what we'll probably
Or
do,
does that go for everyone?
at some point, it'll go for everyone. The thing that's a little tricky about
Okay.
employees is sometimes I don't want to say, not so much in the Amish world. In the English, it's a little bit more so, but sometimes employees don't like us,
Yeah.
and so they've got a good thing going. They've kind of, they kind of train the owner to do the work and take the risk,
Yeah.
pick up everything. So when somebody comes in from outside and starts empowering the owner to say, wait a minute, sometimes employees can get a little sassy, a little upset about that. So, then they're like little terrorists. They just make your life harder. And so you don't need your life harder at this point. And so what you would do is, well, when we get that out, you can look at it, and then you'll probably give it to one or two employees and see how they get some buy-in from them, see if they have concerns or questions or, anything. And, and then you'll kind of roll it out. But the goal, yeah, we need to get the real big thing is they sometimes like weak producers, people gaming the system, employees that are not really good employees, they're going to feel it as a threat. But it's really to help us understand them better so we can help them better achieve their goals. So it's really for their benefit. If they're a good employee, they'll tend to see it at that and say, wow, they're really, Willis, he's trying to help me. Mark's trying to help me. Like they're trying to help me. But bad employees, they don't like it because they can sense, you mean I got to do work? I got to smart. I got to figure stuff out. I got to grow. It's like, yeah, that's kind of how it works in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll work through that. But yeah, eventually we'll get to all the employees.
Okay.
Do you have any that you are wondering if you should keep them as employees?
I don't. Well, no. I mean, I don't as of now, but I did have here this past summer. I had a real struggle with that, but they've moved on now. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah. So if you don't have any right now, that's fine. If you, we want to get to where when you're interviewing people, you're interviewing that we're involved in that interviewing process because it's not. I've seen people bring in, bad employees, a person who's a weak person, but if you bring them in the right way, they can actually turn into a great employee. I've seen where somebody, a company brings in a strong person, but they bring them in the wrong way, and that person can become a weak employee. So we want to make sure that we've got the right systems in place for recruiting people and then onboarding them. And so we'll be building that system as well. So, all right, sir. Hey, appreciate it. Oh, did you get a chance? Do you know if accounting sent out the check? I don't think we've received that yet.
I signed it yesterday.
Okay, gotcha.
I was thinking you'll probably ask me that this morning, but
yeah, no problem. Appreciate it. All right, sir. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Have a blessed day. Bye-bye. Okay, so you can see you're probably all just like, man, I want to do what Mark does, right? And you're probably all thinking, he's not that good, really. Like I could do so much better. Like yeah, I get it, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's pretty easy. It's pretty fun in what you're doing. Any questions?
I was just curious why you didn't say anything about his marriage this
time. He didn't bring it up, and so so there was a lot that was covered, and so I want to make sure I've got good timing on that. So there's a certain amount that you can get to. And so maybe I should have, I don't know. It's always hard to know what things to push and what to go through. And so we can always go back and, one of you could go ahead or you could slide in, Marla, and say, hey, Mark mentioned that he forgot this. So, so we can slide stuff in. It's good that you all have felt overwhelmed. You all have had headaches in working with me because then you can appreciate a client and what they're going through. Like they're like, Oh my goodness. There's just so much here. So good question. Other questions or thoughts?
When you go through their monthly step by steps, do you try and cover each one, or do you just pick up the ones that they should? I guess, and another way to word it would be, how many assignments do you give them per session?
Depends. You could give them 3 assignments and it's less overwhelming than one.
So you have to just kind of get a feel for where they're
Yep.
at as to how much you have to do.
Yep. Yipper. You're it's and this is where I think women have an advantage over men in coaching, is because women tend to be more sensitive to those things. Like, how far can I push? Not that women push. I'm not saying that. I would never say that about women. I'm just saying that you get an idea and you want to push them. Like it's like an exercise coach. You're just like an exercise. When you're in an exercise coach, you're going to walk away sore. Your coach is going to say, "Hey, you can do 3 more push-ups. You can run another mile." So you want to go ahead and stretch them, but not too far. So nice, good work.